everyone, my name is Doc and I am one of the owners of the Hood Collective, and today we are going to be talking about logo design in 2026. So first, what is the number one thing you have to be aware of as you are thinking about your cannabis logo in 2026, whether you're a new company or whether you're a company that's been out there for a while and you're trying to go through a rebrand or just, freshen up what you're doing, is steer away from the cannabis cliches. That means no cannabis leaf in your logo, or not predominantly a cannabis leaf. You can make a nod to it, a subtle, allusion to it, or it can be one element of your logo. But a cannabis logo, a green cross, anything that is focused on joints, smoke is one I see all the time. Fire is one I see all the time. The same thing, like when you're thinking about, oh, what should my logo be? Whatever the first thing you're thinking of, it's probably not a good idea because everyone else has already been doing it. And hopefully that is obvious advice and you already know that, but a lot of people are just leaning into that. And outside of just the obvious cannabis, emblems and 420 and all of that, it's also like the common, themes of, graffiti, hip hop, the kinds of things that, again, we're seeing over and over again. The dripping logos for your concentrate, the stoned eyes, we've seen it all before. You can do a search for cannabis logos. You're going to see many, many versions of this. So that's why your logo should steer far away from that. If you want to stand out, don't look like everyone else. That advice goes outside of cannabis too. A lot of people that aren't leaning into cannabis cliches are leaning into their state or city cliches. And I'll give you one example. We've developed a logo and packaging very recently for a client in Vermont. And we did some research into what everyone else is doing so that we're not repeating, and we're pointing out to the client, hey, look, you said you wanted X, but look, there's a dozen other companies that have done some version of X. In Vermont, that meant mountains. There are so many mountain logos in Vermont because there's mountains in Vermont. And so, there's a lot of nature focused stuff, but especially mountains. And you can pick the state, and whatever state you're in, you can immediately think of the cliches associated with your state. And so the worst version of this, and I can guarantee you can pick any state and you're going to find many versions of this, which is the cannabis leaf or other cannabis symbol tied to the local, geographic symbol or whatever the local symbol is. So in Vermont, it's a mountain with the cannabis leaf. There's a lot of versions of that. Go Google it right now. What can you do to kind of place your company in your state, in your region, in your city, without just looking like everyone else? And so stop looking outside yourself, look inside. What is your company about? What is special about what you're doing? And this is tied directly to the name. If you pick a cliched name, like, something with the word green in it, something with, 420 in it, the logos all look the same when the names are all the same. And so you want to break out of that with a name as well as the logo. So to sum that part one up, when you're designing your logo or redesigning your logo for 2026, avoid the cannabis cliches and avoid the state, region, city specific cliches of where you're at. So what can you do to break out of, the cliches, the stereotypes, and to be one of the trendsetters yourselves? how can you make something that is iconic without looking the same as everyone else? How can you make something that looks modern without looking like everyone else? How can you make something that, you know, identifies your place in the cannabis industry without relying on cannabis cliches? Well, I've already given you the answer at the end of part one, which is look into yourself and into your company and identify what is special about what you're doing and how can you depict that in all the various ways, all the aspects of your company. How can your identity, whether it is as founders, as a collective group, you know, of people that have come together to create and, you know, grow this company, what is it about what you're doing that is unique, and how can you depict that in a logo, on a website, in the language that you use? And so we're talking about logo design, but this applies to every aspect of your brand. So I'm going to use an example I've used in the past. If you've gone to our website or you've seen some of my previous videos, you may have heard this before, but my favorite example that I think really spells out what we mean by brand and why it's so essential is, let's imagine that you are a very friendly person. You have opened a dispensary because you love people and you love sharing your love of cannabis, and you love hearing their stories and sharing your story, and you know, like, so that's kind of a core it's at the core of who you are. And so you think brilliantly, hey, why don't we call ourselves Friendlies or Friendly Cannabis or something like that? Friends. Whatever it is, Friends is a bad idea because of the TV show, but you get my idea. That you have identified something unique about you and your company, and you have put it at the forefront by making it your name. And now, whether you're designing your logo, you're designing your dispensary space, you're designing your website, you're sending out an email, any of the ways that you're going to interact with your customer and your prospective customer, you know, well, we want to convey how friendly we are. We want to talk about how you come in here and we're going to take the time to get to know you and to find out what you're looking for and give you what you want. And you're always going to meet a smiling face, you know, a friendly pat on the back, whatever it is. That is going to be infused in everything that you do. It's going to define how you pick out your bud tenders, right? Your number one priority is that you're going to pick the friendliest people that apply because they're representing your company, Friendlies. And so by identifying that one core principle that is unique to your company, you have created a brand. And it's so easy now. At every step of the way, you know, this is our North Star. Now, when you're identifying the values of your company, you know, and you make a list of the 5 things, and it's clean and, you know, scientific and, you know, sustainable, and like the list, it's always the same 3 to 5 things. You know, if you're identifying these values as just the same as everyone else, then you haven't really identified anything specific to you, right? And you need to, instead of having these 5 different values and like, oh, these are our 5 pillars and I see this a lot, you need to like say, oh, which one is most important, or which 2 maybe is most important? How does this 1 or 2 core concepts, how does that make us unique? And now we're going to lean all the way into it, and now that is our identity. So that is how you become a trendsetter, because you have created something that is unique. And if you do it authentically and you do it professionally and you do a good job of it, you know, from the artwork to the writing to, you know, the build out of your store or the packaging, whatever it is, when you do it in that true, authentic, convicted way, that is when you become a trendsetter. You do not become a trendsetter by going on Instagram, seeing what the trending videos are, and doing your version of the trending video. That's not how you're a trendsetter. You're a trendsetter when you guys come up with your own funny idea and you record your funny video, and no one's seen anything exactly like that before, and now other people are, following your trend. That's how you become a trendsetter. That is what I encourage you to think about as you're designing your logo, but hopefully you understand implicitly how what we've talked about applies to every aspect of your marketing brand identity. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Go to our website, leave a message there. You can find my contact information. I'm happy when people reach out. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again soon.